friends, it's Ellen here at Yarn Doc, and it's Monday, so it's review day, but I'm doing something a little different today. You know, I order lots of Temu yarns to review and just give you a sense of what they're like, because unlike a lot of the commercial yarns, you don't always have all the information that you need from a Temu listing. And sometimes the prices seem too good to be true, and I like to test that stuff out for you because, you know, a lot of us are on a budget and dealing with some financial, realities that cause us to have to be a little more budget savvy. And Temu is a good opportunity to buy directly from manufacturers. These are products that we can get in other places, but with more I don't want to say middlemen, but I can't think of a more appropriate word, so forgive me. With more people taking money out of the pot, so to speak, so the price goes up at each one of those stages. And when Temu started, there was a lot of, let's face it, junk on there. I do think overall the quality has improved a lot, and we're seeing products that are the same as what we would buy in a store here now being sold on Temu. But it's still hard to know. It can still be hit or miss. So what I thought would be good for this video is to look at non-yarn products that relate to fiber arts. And they're a little more tricky to review. How do you review a stitch marker in a video that makes sense to people? You know what I'm saying? So what I've done is collected my top 10 Temu non-yarn recommendations. These are products that I actually use regularly in my own crafting, or products that I have bought repeatedly from Temu for my own crafting. If I was doing an individual review on them, they would all have received an A from me. So it's a little bit different than my normal reviews, but it still has that flavor. And here you get 10 for the price of one. What is not included here are project bags or baskets or things to keep your projects in. I will do something separate on them because I have been testing out, I have been on the hunt for what works best for me, and I've come to the conclusion that it kind of depends on the project. But I do have a collection of project bags. Not all of them are listed as project bags, but project bag recommendations from Temu that are economical, i.e. affordable, for most budgets, and functional as far as my experience goes. But that will be a separate video. Otherwise, this one was just going to get way too long. But let's jump into it. These are my top 10 notions from Temu. Notion recommendations. Recommendations. I need that word in there, don't I? Anyway, let's take a look. Now, friends, if you know me, what you're looking at is going to be a big surprise to you. My Temu hook recommendation is this set of taper hooks that are a clear dupe of the Clover Soft Grip. And they are an extremely good dupe. I have a Clover Soft Grip that I used, and then I immediately used the same size hook from this set, and it was very hard to tell the difference. very, very, very difficult. And when I put them side by side, the only way I can tell is that the printing here is different, but everything else looks the same. The biggest difference that I found is that for this set, I paid less than I did for that one clover hook. Mom has recently said she'd like to crochet again after 50 years of not, and asked me for some starting materials. And since she is a tapered hook person, or at least that was what she used to use, this is the set I gave her. And I'm going to give my mother what I think is the best. You know, she's my mother. And this is the hook set that I gave her. I've borrowed it back for this video. And there's actually one missing. So there you get 8 hooks in this set. It goes up to 6 millimeter is the largest size. And I believe this 2.5, yeah, the 2.5 is the smallest. So clear recommendation if you are a tapered hook user, and maybe you have fancy hooks, but you're traveling or something like that, and you want something that if it gets confiscated at the airport, shouldn't happen, but does sometimes happen. I think you would be quite happy with these hooks. So that is my clear recommendation for tapered hooks. I don't have a clear recommendation for inline hooks. There was a set of plastic hooks that I did a review on that are okay, that I do sometimes use as a travel hook set, but it's not something I would recommend as somebody's everyday go-to set. So I have not found a set of inline hooks that get the thumbs up from me. There we go, thumbs up. So that's my hook recommendation from Temu. So here I may be stepping out of my lane quite a bit. As a newer knitter, I still consider myself a baby knitter. I'm working on becoming a toddler knitter, hopefully by the end of the year. But in that, I have tried a ton of needles, all kinds. And I have 2 sets from Temu that I really like. I have my round needle set, and then I have this set. And this set is the one I will reach for every single time if I can. See, I've even got a set in use at the moment. And why? Because they're cubes. And I just find that is so helpful on my hands. I get hand pain and cramps, probably because I claw grip onto my needles, but I can go much longer using these cubic needles than I can the round ones. I saw a review by Simon Henry Makes. Now he was using a fancy brand. I tend to want to spend my money on yarn than on accessories. I know it's not logical. Like, the tools we use are really important, but I just really have a hard time spending a lot on what I consider the accessories. And I don't know why I consider my needles and hooks accessories. But I decided to try this set. It's Temu, so it's a little bit of a challenge. This set, if you just went onto Temu and bought it, would have cost me 26 euros. Now,
I had credits and discounts and played their credit back game for it. And so I ended up paying around 17 euros. So if you want to put up with their shenanigans, which I usually do because I'm cheap. Okay, I don't know that there's any other way around it, but I would just rather be able to buy more stuff and put a couple extra minutes into figuring out how to get the best deal. But if you don't want to do that, it is about 26 euros, though for a fairly decent set of needles. There aren't a ton in this set, but one of the other things that I really like about this set, that I have been a little bit disappointed in every other set of interchangeables I've used, is these don't, or so far on me, they haven't started to loosen at the join while I'm working. I have a real problem getting my interchangeables, no matter what set I use, really good and tight. Yes, I've learned how to use the pin, and I use the pin, but they just seem to loosen up. I think I must be a very, very tight knitter, because it's, as the stitches are going over, it just tends to loosen up on me. And I have actually had a cord fall off, but I have not had that same issue with this set. So I'm particularly pleased with it. It comes with cables and accessories. Let me pull all that stuff out. Okay, this is an extra cable I bought because I found I needed really small ones when starting kids projects. So, but I'm holding the camera. I didn't think this through perfectly. So, stoppers for the ends of the cables if you need to steal your needles for another project and mid-project. The tightener key, these kinds of things. This thing I think is to hold and to tighten as well. And I think that's everything. So it doesn't come with some of the things that the kits do, the measuring tapes and the scissors, but I have all of that stuff in spades. I even have this thing, which I find totally useless. It's nice for decoration, but I have actually tried to crochet projects with them, and it wasn't fun. It was not fun. So this is not a recommendation unless you like to, have people know you're a crocheter when you're out and about, and then it works well for that. But this set I did find really great. I also prefer metal needles. I learned that the hard way. And I did buy my set of bamboo needles from Temu as well, and I have split 2 tips on my bamboo needles. So that is an anti-recommendation, but this particular set of cubics has been really great so far. And I have used, I've used these ones, and these ones, and then obviously these ones. So there's only 3 in here that I haven't used for something yet. So anyway, that is my needle recommendation. There are 2 kinds of stitch markers that I think are really worth it on Temu, that are just a good deal. There are both the lockable kind, so I can use them for both crochet or knitting. I like these plastic ones a lot, and they come, I keep them in this container and I sort them by color. This is not how they come. This container came from a store called Teddy, which is the everything for a euro store, where nothing costs €1. But I have to stop saying that. But maybe that's the first time you heard it. So they come in a plastic bag similar to this, all mixed up, just random, but they come about 100 stitch markers for under €1. 100 stitch markers for under €1. I use a lot of stitch markers, and I will often use different colors to symbolize different things to me. For example, I often use red for stop, or to mark the wrong side, green for the right side. And then I use a different color for, say, increases, or to track every 50 stitches, I might put one color of stitch marker or that. So I find it a really good value. No, they're not sturdy, but none of these plastic ones are sturdy, and they're eventually going to break, especially if you lock and unlock them, lock and unlock them. So I would rather pay less than €1 for 100 of them, get random colors so that then I can sort them and use them to color code things. So that I think is a very good deal. These are the same kind of thing. They're just the metal ones. And I mean, these really just remind me of safety pins, except what I like about them is that the metal is coated. So they're not going to give you, you know, potential rust issues or anything like that. But also with the colors, I can use them to color code. And with the finer weights of yarn, I find the thinness of them quite good. They're also very sharp and very pointed on the end. So to get into tight stitches or that, also very good. So these are the stitch markers that I find to be a very good deal. I buy them over and over again. There are lots of stitch markers on Temu. I've ordered these from various sellers or that on Temu. I have never ever had a problem. I've always been satisfied. With the more specialized ones, I have had issues. I have ordered the number ones in various different ways. The best ones I've found for that were basically these stitch markers with a wooden number that sort of just sits. It's attached with a really tiny ring to it. And those were the best. The sort of fancier looking ones, I found that more than a third of my numbers did not open, which can work for a knitter, but it's definitely not going to work for a crocheter. And for what I needed them for, what I purchased them for, it was not going to work at all. So I've had hit or miss with the fancier ones. The ones that look like sheep, I'm gonna grab them. Okay, so it doesn't actually look like sheep. They look like skeins of yarn, but I always think of them as my sheep stitch markers because it comes with this, I don't know, guide holder. Anyway, the thing that you can clip them all onto. These are nice quality. They're nice stitch markers, and the crab, whatever you call this latch, they are very good. They all function, they all work. That is good. There are various kinds. This one comes with these little scissors, but there's only one with it. I liked this quite a bit as well. The scissors are very sharp, cuts well. It's been a while, friends. I think I paid under €4 a piece. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think this one was like around the €3 mark, and this was just 2 something when I bought them. this is not my preferred type of stitch marker. So it is not something that I grab regularly, which is why you can see they're still in their packaging. However, it is good quality, especially for the money. So I would have no hesitation to recommend these or this particular line. Various sellers carry them. The prices go all over the place, but also just products that I wouldn't hesitate to recommend, but just don't fall under that personal taste use category for me. So I don't reach for them the way I reach for the more basic stitch markers, frankly. So there are those. Another recommend, that is my stitch marker category. One of the things that I really like to get from Temu, and I recommend, are the stitch protectors, needle stoppers, whatever it is you want to call them. They have a great variety on Temu for incredibly low prices. I have become a little bit addicted, and I have to hold myself back because I just love all the different critters and creatures, and I like to have what I have on the ends of my needles match the project or the theme or the season. Like these ones I got because I'm making a sweater for one of my autistic sons, and one of the things that has always worked to calm him down and help him regulate is singing a song, which the English translation is My Little Ladybug. And so I actually bought these just to put on the ends of my needles while making that sweater. Though I'll probably use it for anything I make for him. But I mean, these little lambs with the needles were so cute. I'm making sweaters, so I have these sweaters. 2 of them are in use, so they came as a 5-pack. But the one tip that I will give you there, they have been great. They have worked on any needle, and I have actually used them on the end of my crochet hook when I am doing Tunisian crochet and have a ton of stitches on it, just to make sure I'm not dropping any off of those, particularly for Tunisia. I pop one of these on and they will go on. I'm using right now a 5.5mm Tunisian crochet hook, and I have one of these stitch stoppers on. You will get several that come up if you search stitch stopper, but what I have found most effective is to search silicone bead. I noticed that that was one of the titles on the first set of stitch stoppers I bought, and you just had far more options, and they are exactly the same as what they sell as stitch stoppers. So these I highly recommend. I'm addicted, but they're cheap enough that that my collecting addictive nature to them is not putting us into chapter 11. So this is, for me, a clear recommendation. They're a great price. I have never paid more than €4 for a bag like this one. There is, how many pieces? It says set 2. Well, there's a lot more than 2 in there. I don't know, 10 maybe? No. I do have 2 on needles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I must have counted wrong. No, I have 9 in there. So I don't know. I had 11, unless I only have 1 on a needle. Sometimes I do that when I only have my stitches on 1 needle. Or it's what's on the top of my Tunisia, which would be funny. Because it's knitting needles. Anyway, so I just think they're very inexpensive, and they are good quality and a thorough recommendation for those. So those are just a sample of the various stitch stoppers or silicone beads that you can find on Temu, and I have yet to find a bad set. Every one that I've got has been quality, well cut, good colors, exactly what I expected it to be. Like these little sweaters, they even have like nice cabling on them. Nice little wheat stitch cables. Anyway, I could talk about these things forever, so I'm gonna stop. But yes, stitch markers, stitch stoppers. So I am new to knitting, fairly new. I've only knit 4 or 5 different things and been knitting for a couple of months, but I have started knitting garments, and I find try-on cord to be important. And I particularly like to buy it like this on the spool, because almost for the price that you pay for those pre-sized cords, you pay for a whole spool. I paid €6.12 for this set, and it is, oh, remind me, tell me. It's on here. I'm gonna look it up and put it on the screen because it's not saying meterage on here. Substantially more than you get in the pre-cut, and then you do also get the stitch stopper things that go on, quite a few of them. I think 3 sets worth. So I find this, especially if you're generously sized, a really good option for this kind of cording, this try-on cabling. So, and it is, like, I have one from a yarn store of those pre-cuts, which I can use for my kids, but I actually can't use to try on, say if I wanted to try on a sweater for me. And it feels the same. This is actually my second one, which is why it's still all wrapped up, but it feels the same. It works the same. I'm pretty convinced it's the same thing, just nobody has cut it off for you yet, and frankly, I would rather have it that way. So, also a recommendation. I've chosen the wrong backdrop to show you this tape measure. White on white here. Okay. I really like these. They have inches on one side, centimeters on the other. They've got the button to pull it back in. It will stay out where you pull it. And this one I bought in a pack of 5 for just over €2. They are... I often see them for around 80 cents a piece, but then the multi-packs are cheaper. They come in a variety of colors. I have just them sort of tucked all over my house. I have one that I keep in, you know, that drawer in your kitchen that's for everything, you know. Some say junk drawer, but I'm not going to disparage it in that way, because half the time that's where the thing is that I need, that I'm looking for. So in that drawer, I have one of those. I have one in my nightstand. I have one in all of my notions bags. I just have them all over the place. And if they were to get stretched out or break, which I haven't actually had the experience of, but if that were to happen, it's at most 80 cents. So very good. I like them. There are some with designs on, yarn rules in particular. I have one that's like faux leather that I had yarn dock printed on. just for fun, just to check it out. And that custom one with the faux leather and my name on it was €3.28. So I'll make sure I show that to you as well. So very affordable and functional. Clear recommendation. Okay, so as promised, I would show you this tape measure. So it's the same. It's got inches on one side, centimeters on the other, but it's got this faux leather sort of coating, a little bit fancier tab. I have a dog hair that is attached there and in the shot and just does not want to come off my hand. Okay. And then just because I wanted to see what it was like and thought it might be fun to use for on-camera work. And it's pink. It's my color. This one it will, I just totally pulled it out of frame, but that's the other one I want to show you. So it will stay out and then you push on you. My concern with it is that, you know, if you use it a lot and are pushing that the customized name will eventually wear off. So far it hasn't, but again, I use this mostly for on-camera work. But it is quite nice, quite nice. So if you want a personalized measuring tape for, I do think I paid just over €3 for it. I will see if I can find it and put the listing on there for you. It has worked great and I'm very happy with it. So for that price. The other one I'm very happy with is, you guys have probably seen my keychains before. These three things I'm happy with. So I have one, it is almost identical to those round ones that I initially showed you. Basically the same thing, but for some reason the one to go on the keychain or that comes on a keychain is squared. This is darning needles, a very, very, very similar to the faux wooden case ones that I showed you that I also have all over my house, but this one comes on a key ring. So no matter where I go, I am craft ready. And then there is this one. This is the only sort of scissors that I could find for a keychain. They were really sharp the first 2 times I used them. Now I have to make sure there's good tension on the yarn. And it will still cut, but there are better scissors out there. I only use them when I'm finishing something up on the go. So, serves its purpose, still functions. I'm not going to say run out and get it. Again, I paid less than €1 for it. So, yeah. Great. So, those are my measuring tape recommendations. This may be my favorite Temu find. It is a set of darning needles. They come in this nice case. It is faux wood, but really well finished. Really good metal screw top. I've had no trouble with like the screw top coming out or anything like that. I have several of these. These are what I tend to throw on an order when I don't have quite enough to check out. But the one thing I would say is there are several versions of these. I would strongly recommend that you get one with the colored needles in it. I bought one set that I assumed was the same because on the listing, I mean, it's the same case and everything. But it only had the perfectly straight darning needles in. It actually had more darning needles, but it had none of the curved needles, which are so great for getting in and out of stitches. that I highly recommend. In fact, those are the ones I use almost exclusively unless I've accidentally picked up the case that only has the straight. But for things like going into a magic ring, that curve on the end is invaluable. So this is probably my absolute favorite accessory that I have found on Temu. It is my favorite accessory that I have purchased. I have strong feelings for this accessory, and I use it with every single project. This is my absolute top recommendation. Vital to every fiber artist is the humble scissors. Now, these are not the fancy bird looking scissors, and those are on Temu as well. But I just wanted something as small as possible that was inexpensive and safe, because I have a lot of young people. Yeah, young people running around, one of who has no concept of danger. So I knew that I wanted scissors with a very secure case. And you can see just from looking at that, that is one very sharp point, and they are very sharp scissors. And I bought a pack of 5 of these. You cannot pick your colors in those packs. They're just random colors. And I did get 5 different colors, which is fine. I didn't care. But I'm going to have to look up the price of that. But extremely inexpensive. I mean, less than €1 per scissor. And I just have them all over the place. Every Notions pouch. I have one in my night table. I have one in that famous kitchen drawer that some people call junk, but usually contains that stuff that I need. So I'm calling it that useful drawer. That's a good name for it. That useful drawer in the kitchen where useful things seem to land that don't have a place anywhere else. But I like them, and they really, really, really work well for fiber art. So strong recommendation. It's not going to break your bank, but it's certainly going to do the job you need it to. And they're small enough that you should be allowed to take them on an airplane. And if they don't let you, they're cheap enough to replace. My knit blockers, I think are great. This is a set. I have seen this exact set in local yarn stores for 3 and 4 times the price. It is available from Amazon at significantly more money. But I have ordered 2 sets of these now because I do find that especially for larger projects, I didn't have enough. But I've also ordered the T-pins, and I have them. I just have not blocked anything since they came. So I can't say yes or no to them yet. They do say that they're stainless steel, and I just want to check to make sure that when I'm putting them in wool or that they won't leave little rust marks before I tell you, hey, they are good. To me, they look very much like everything else, but you know, the true test is when they are wet and sitting. So before I recommend those ones, I will test them. These I have used many times, and I'm just going to open that up and show you what is inside. So here I have 12 of these larger pins, and Especially for straight edges. I find this very helpful, like corners of a scarf or something where you want it very straight for an extended period of time rather than the individual pins. I like to use these, and so you get 12 of those and then 8 of these smaller ones with just the 4 pins. Those are also good for doing like the very corner of something. So those, clear recommend. I've just recently purchased a second set for when I'm pinning bigger projects. Also in case those straight pins are no good, you know. And I can't remember what I paid. I think it was around €6, but these are my blocking boards. I did buy these from Temu. This was the cheapest set I could find on Temu, and I purchased it, and they are working just like any other blocking boards. Yes, you will see that they do have remainer holes, but that is going to happen to any blocking board. I think they're pretty subtle actually on these. So as far as the quality of the blocking board goes, I do recommend them. But they were also the cheapest blocking boards that I could find. The last time I ordered more because, you know what? That is the other problem I have with sets of blocking board. If you're generously sized or you want to block a blanket, you do not have enough squares. Not in any of those sets. And so the last time I ordered, I think they were under exercise mats. They're the same thing, these square things. I also bought them from Temu. They had a much stronger sort of rubber synthetic smell to them. And I do not like them as much as this nice pink set, but they were even cheaper. So I would not recommend spending the higher prices at other places. I will probably always buy mine from Temu unless I find them, you know, being sold as a kid's toy in one of those bargain aisles in Aldi or Lidl or something like that. So yes, it is good. They are really good, really durable blocking boards. Very minimal. I mean, you see ones that are a lot worse. Here you kind of have to look for the holes. So as far as blocking boards go, it is good. It was relatively cheap for blocking boards. I just don't like the price of them overall. Anyway, those are my blocking board recommendations. And I'm going to switch now to my final recommendation, which also has to do with blocking. My final recommendation caused an avalanche of yarn because I had a whole pile leaning up against it. But this blocking board is particularly for granny squares. I really like it. It has worked very, very well for me. I have done multiple sizes of granny squares on it and multiple granny squares at a time, either stacked or there's been room enough to have multiple squares on the board at the same time. It comes with these stainless steel pins, or they're rods actually. And so those go into these holes, and there's nothing, you have to use a little bit of oomph on it. And there was nothing on the other side to oomph it into. So your granny square would go, or this would go through your granny square. They are stainless steel. I've had many a wet granny square on it, never had a mark. There's a little trough here to keep them in, and you can stand it so that it looks pretty, or you can just lie it flat, which when I have granny squares on it, I usually have it lying flat. Well, I
didn't feel like you'd had too much to drink there. So I lie it like that. And then I'll stack them, leaving a little bit of space in between each, because those are nice deep rods. So when I did the Willow Granny Square scarf for my daughter, I believe I had 7 squares on the rods at a time with a little bit of gap in between. So you really can put a lot on there. There are quite a wide variety of these boards and sizes, which you can't always tell just by looking at the picture. So really do look at the size. I will find the listing for this one. I bought it quite some time ago, but I am going to put the effort in to find that listing and put it on the screen for you and put the measurements in that of this one on. So that you can check that before you purchase. There are much smaller ones on, and I have not personally purchased one of those, but they do not have good reviews. So that is my final recommendation. I will flip back to my face and talk to you then. So friends, that's my 10. Those are the ones that I turn to and go to repeatedly. I do want to say one caveat to that, in that this list might be more extensive further down the line. I do regularly buy notions from Temu to test them out, and not necessarily for the channel, just for myself. I am always looking for things that make my crafting life even easier. And recently, for example, I have bought quite a few different bobbins. These are tools where you wrap small portions of yarn around them to use for intarsia, whether that's knitting or crochet. And formerly I've been using pieces of my kids' Lego. The Duplos work pretty well, actually, with the yarn stays on the teeth of it. But I end up masking taping the end to the I was being creative as a new mom when I first did my very first intarsia project. Before I even knew what that word was, I was just calling it stranded color work, but that's different too. There's a lot of new language to learn, right? But then I discovered they actually make things for this, and I had bought some bobbins in the past and didn't like them. I don't know what happened to them. I can't remember where I bought them. Maybe like at Michael's or something. Was I still living in North America? It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. But I have recently bought several different kinds of bobbins from Temu to test out, but I haven't started any colorwork projects since I purchased them. So there may be recommendations like that come further down the line in a project vlog, or that I discuss on Whipping It Up Wednesdays or something like that. So just because something is not on this list doesn't mean that it's not good. Okay? It could just mean that I haven't tried it yet, or I haven't tested it. I have in the past told you about things that weren't good, like that wooden gauge square that you also, not the one with the hole in the middle, I haven't ordered that from Temu, but the one where you could do your wraps per inch test, and there were some other things on it, and it was about this big. I would show it to you, except I threw it in the garbage. The thing was warped. The inch break wasn't actually an inch. It was a disaster. I did get my money back. Teemu is pretty good about that. If you complain, they generally will give you your money back. If you're going through the AI process, They will offer you less than a full refund. Just say, no, I don't accept that. And then they will offer you a full refund. That's been my experience. But they didn't want that one back. I can't blame them. I didn't want it either. So it did actually go in the garbage can. And because it was wood, it went into the compost. And it's probably worm food by now. I will tell you about those. But just because I'm not mentioning something at all doesn't mean it's not good. For example, here, back here, you can see, oh, my finger is there. My cone is on one of these wooden spindles. They function fine. They function perfectly fine. And actually, I'll grab it. I'll show you. I have 3 of them because, well, this is a lace weight silk thread. And when I work with these, I tend to hold it triple. And so, and from a cone, you have to work from the outside. So the best way to work from a cone is with one of these things. And it's a 2-piece set. And so you put the cone on this piece, it sits on this, and then it spins. So if I'm pulling my thread, I see that's spinning. I'm not sure how well the spinning is showing on camera, but I don't want to totally unroll my thread to work with. They function like they do the job. And this one, part of the reason it's here and on camera is it is really pretty well done there. I do have one where this part sits a little bit, I don't know how to do it with my fingers, a little bit where one side is up and one side is down a little bit. It still spins, it still works. It's a quality control issue. And actually, I didn't pay for any of them. Because, as I said, if you complain, Temu's pretty good about giving you your money back. And for this particular listing, it said it was a set of 2. And it's probably a translation error. And what they probably mean is it's 2 pieces in a set. But that is not what it says. And it actually shows 2 of these in the pictures. So I complained. I said, I'm expecting 2 from the way the listing is written and from the picture, and I received 1. I did it 3 times, and I ended up, they said, here's your money back, keep the item. That's how I got my 3. I actually just wanted 2 sets, but, you know. So there's nothing wrong with it. It functions. It does its job. It was would have cost me €3.28. There's a lot of €3.28 on there. I don't know if that's just the number that sticks in my head from Temu or if that's just, I don't know. I don't know why, but a lot of things I find in this area come out to 28 cents. I wonder if that is a special number in China. I think 8 is. 8 is a lucky number. Anyway, I've gone way off on a tangent there. And that is an excellent price for these. So it's functional. It does its job. It's not one of these things that I would say, this is a favorite. This is an A. If I'd been ranking it, I probably would have given this a B. And if I'd only gotten the warped one, that was actually the second one I got, I probably would have said probably a C, like average, whatever. So between those 2, I think I would come out somewhere like a B minus. That's not going to make my top 10 recommendations list, but there's nothing wrong with this product. So I'm just trying to be clear that I'm not saying, okay, these are the only good things on Temu and everything else is garbage. I do find that the reviews are helpful, but of course, as in most things, if there are good reviews, those are going to come at the top. They are trying to sell stuff. Okay, so that's my top 10 list. There will be more Temu stuff. Why? Because you tend to want that. They are my, I've discovered analytics, and I went in and I looked, and just out of curiosity to see what my most watched videos are, and the entire top 10 is something with Temu. So it's clearly information that people are looking for. So I do shop there. I am looking for good stuff at a cheap price. I have 7 kids. I need a budget. And I don't know, maybe you can relate to needing to budget, but so I have no problem purchasing what I'm going to purchase anyway from Temu and then telling you what it's like and whether you might want to check it out or not. Some things that you will notice were not on the list are a Swift and a ball winder, even though I use those. I use my ball winder at least twice a week and my Swift a couple of times a month. Both of those are from Temu. They function. Would I replace them with something else if I had more money to spend on them? You bet. And actually, I have a second ball winder. For those who've been watching for a while, I received a free one from Mayflower when I purchased some yarn from them. It was a special they were offering. And it looks extremely similar to the one I got from Temu. It's also plastic. It's also a hand crank. And it works so much better. I don't know why. I'm not an engineer. I couldn't tell you what the difference is other than the color. Mayflower's is black and my Temu one is pink and white. But one of the things that I find with my Temu ball winder is sometimes, especially if I'm using it in conjunction with the Swift, I'll be about halfway through a wind or making a cake and the cake flies off the ball winder. It flies across the room like a rocket launched into the air. And then you have to start again. And eventually it turns into a big mess. And there are some yarns it just won't do. And it tends to be my 1800 meter silk hanks that I bought from Temu. That's really lovely silk, but a nightmare to get into a usable form. So that's why I'm sort of switched to the cones, even though they are considerably more money. The headache of doing these hanks is just, my Mayflower one, it's never gone shooting off. So when I find that I'm having difficulty, I'm pointing to it because it's literally, I'm touching it right now. It's just off camera. When I find that it's going off or not working somehow, if I don't need the Swift to do it, because the Temu ball winder's on one side of my desk and the Swift is on the other. They're clamped there. And where I have the other ball winder, I can't clamp a Swift onto because it can't open. It's just a lot of details about my personal crafting, but I will go and I'll see. I just picked up that sentence where I went off on a big tangent and then I picked it right back up where I started. When it starts to fly off the Temu ball winder, I have trouble. I switch and I use the Mayflower and I can almost always get it to work. The Mayflower, if I paid for it, would have cost me 4 times the amount as the Temu one. Mostly I use the Temu one because it's here in the room with the yarn near the Swift. it matches the room. The pink matches, you know, the compromises we make in life. What's wrong with the Swift? I have one of the metal plastic ones, not one of the wood ones. I did buy one of the wood ones and I had to send it back. It just would not tighten. I tried it on so many surfaces and everything. And the only thing it did is the wood damaged the underside of one of my tables. But it just would not tighten. So it just kept falling over. The plastic and metal one functions actually pretty well. It's really hard to open and close. In fact, I never close it fully because I have to get my husband in to yank that thing up if I close it fully. So I close it so that it's about this big instead of this big, which is what it would be fully closed. I leave it sort of like that, and then I can get it to go. But if I go right down, in fact, for about the first 2 months after I had it, I thought it was defective. And then my husband tried it, and my husband is in good shape. He lifts weights 4 times a week. Like I don't know how I got him. I don't, but I did. I've got this brilliant, smart, handsome, fit man. Lucky me. But he used all of his strength to get the thing up the first time. And then I was like, I didn't close it at all for months. Because it was like, but you have to close it a little bit to get the hank on. So I did sort of learn that as long as I don't close it all the way, I can get it up or down on myself. I'm just like, I bought a lot of stuff from Temu. I could talk about a lot of stuff, but I won't. I have given you my top 10 recommendations. These are things that I have no qualms about. Most of them I have ordered many times. I have not encountered any issues with. They would get my A ratings in grading if I was doing them as individual reviews. So that's my list, friends. If you have sat here through all of this was a long one, I know, and you're not subscribed, come on, we're basically best friends at this point. You might as well. It's free to you. It would help me out a lot. I do have a channel subscriber goal. I'm old. Oh, this is all new language to me. But I do have a goal, and I'm getting close to it. So that subscription would be a great way to say, hey, thanks for doing this. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments, if you've tried these products, if you have other ones you want to suggest or recommend to people, or if there's something you've been eyeing that you're curious about, let me know about it. Maybe I can order that and give a little review feedback on it as well. And until next time, friends, happy stitching.